Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new video, bringing you kind of a rare foray into the world of Create a Sim in The Sims 4. I have very occasionally done Create a Sim videos inspired by the Nancy Drew series, and I recently was feeling inspired to play around with the Create a Pet tools within The Sims 4, so I decided to try and make all of the dogs and cats that exist within the Nancy Drew PC game universe, starting here with Yuri from, or not Yuri, Yogi, Yogi from Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. This is Jeff Akers' dog, and he's apparently a German pointer, or at least that's the breed that I found within the breed catalog that looked very, very similar to Yogi, and who I decided to base his little Create a Sim off of. It was a really fun trying out Create a Pet. I very rarely do it. Whenever I play with cats and dogs within The Sims 4, I have my families adopt them, and I am then just randomly assigned a pet within the game. So I almost never create animals within The Sims 4. And I have tried to, create Mel and create other real life pets that I've had in The Sims 4, and it just is it's difficult. I have a really hard time with the Create a Pet tools, so this is my practice. I do think that Yogi ended up looking very similar to his Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake version. I think the coloring is really on point, and then just the way that the spots and the patches on his back are outlined, I think he ended up looking really good. I was trying to elongate his snout because he does have a pretty long and narrow snout with a pretty wide bridge. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how he turned out, and then I gave him traits that I felt like a dog that Jeff Akers would own would need to have, including the loyal and smart traits. So that's Yogi. Yogi is such a good boy, very sweet. And now we are moving on to Yuri, another animal within the Nancy Drew PC game series, whose name is 4 letters, starts with a Y, and ends with an I. Don't know why, but here we go. We have Yuri from Secret of the Old Clock. This is Richard Topham's cat. It's not entirely clear if the cat was Richard Topham's all along, or if it belonged to Josiah Crowley and then Richard Topham inherited Yuri, but regardless, Yuri is within the house. This is the only living cat that we see within the series. There are others discussed, and there are a couple robotic cats, but Yuri is the only living one. He is a gray Persian with a little white patch on his belly and little white patches on his paws. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. I did enjoy giving him kind of the spooky green eyes with the slits, though. He is lazy in classic Persian fashion. I also gave him the talkative trait because he's constantly meowing, and the playful trait because all he wants is his mouse. He just wants his toy, but he's too lazy to get up and go get it himself. Which is why he's talkative. I think Yuri's adorable. I love cat representation. We need more cats. So now we're moving on to Toomey from Sea of Darkness. Toomey is a border collie, basically looked exactly like the border collie that The Sims 4 just gave me as a base. I did alter the pattern on the back legs just a bit because when it looks like Toomey is sitting down, it looks like there's less black moving down from the back into the back legs and more into more white from the legs going up. So finding a full body image of Toomey was really difficult. We see Toomey from far away in the screenshot that I've included as kind of a reference image, and we get little brief glimpses of Toomey's cute little head. But other than that, it's very brief glances of Toomey. So I did my best with what I had. Part of why I think the Sims 4 Create a Pet tool is so difficult is because the paint tool is so precise that sometimes it just ends up looking fake. So as you could see, there was kind of just like a very straight line where I drew the paint from the black to the white, and that just didn't look normal. So eventually I found a little stamp that kind of made it look like it was blending in. The black and the white furs were blending into each other a little bit more, and I like how that looked better. Toomey also has a pretty unique face. It's kind of like short and squat with a wide snout. Extremely adorable. Toomey is probably the cutest pet in the entire Nancy Drew series. But getting that exact structure was difficult in The Sims with the limitations. But Toomey is very friendly and active, and I can't remember what that third trait was, but just very outgoing and happy. I did also want to include Suki. Suki is the cat, the robotic cat from Shadow at the Water's Edge. Also the only pet that has a collar within the games. So I will give Suki the little collar that Nancy gets for Rentaro as part of the gameplay within Shadow at the Water's Edge, which was kind of fun to include. Just that little gameplay element coming to life within The Sims. Finding a gray for Suki was difficult. It was very hard trying to find like a good base cat that looked thin and like lithe enough to be a robot, but also furry enough because the robot version has kind of little like tufts of fake hair in different places. So I eventually do change his cat from being sleek to being a little bit more fluffy. And I found this, or created this dark gray that I was hoping for to kind of match Suki a little bit better. Now that I'm looking at it, like the in-game Suki is a little bit more blue, almost like a Russian blue, but I like how this gray turned out. I tried to make the tail more narrow also to make it look more robotic, change the eyes to look very robotic as well. And this version of Suki is based off of a Tonkinese, which is a breed I've not heard of before. Ignore me going through all of the pet clothing in pursuit of the actual collar that Suki desires. I also could not upload, well, I was able to upload these pets to the gallery. They are on the gallery. You can download them now. But I wasn't able to upload several of them with their names because several of the names were disallowed. So some of them are just named like Cat or Wolf. So ignore that. You can rename them to their proper names when you download it. I just wasn't allowed to upload them for some reason. So here we have one of the famed ghost dogs from Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, one of the Rottweilers. They all basically look the same. I based this one off of the ones that we see at the end of the game, and off of this image of Vitus from the Speakeasy, and very similar to the Rottweiler, the base Rottweiler that the game gives us. I did think about changing the eye color to green to kind of have the glowing eye effect, but then decided to just go with the color that Rottweiler eyes are supposed to be. I had to change the initial orange that they gave me to a little bit more of a tan color, and then just kind of reduce some of the tan spots because the Rottweiler that I was working off of from the game had different, had less spots. They were more fully black and just had a little bit of the tan on the legs, and then a little kind of almost teardrop shape on the chest, which we go in and add pretty soon here. Of course, there is more than one ghost dog, but I decided to just add one for this little Create-A-Sim adventure since they all kind of looked the same. There wasn't enough variation within the four of them for them to have too many unique things to add. But yeah, I added this little diamond, raindrop, teardrop kind of pattern on the chest here. Did a little bit of detailing around the snout and the legs, and voila, we have one of the famed ghost dogs who actually is very cute, ends up being very cute. I also realized that I hadn't been checking a lot of the base stats that I was given. I was just designing the animal and switching up the traits. I thought about making the ghost dog aggressive, but I didn't think that that was very fair to the ghost dog because it's not the ghost dog's fault that they're aggressive within the game. So I instead made them clever. And I think loyal as well, some other of those traits. And here we have Isis, who was difficult to get the proportions right because parts of Isis are very fluffy and parts of Isis are not at all fluffy and are very sleek. But the fur patterns that we are given in the game are kind of like you will go 100% fluffy, or you will go 0% fluffy, or you will go fluffy head with poodle pattern and no other Fluffy. So I did my best to kind of get a good balance, and I played around with the bone structure of this base Siberian Husky quite a bit. I made the Siberian Husky completely white, and then towards the end add a little bit of gray just to have some shading, just a very light gray. But again, this Siberian Husky was just a little bit kind of stocky and thick, and Isis is not. Isis is quite sleek. So I did my best to kind of change the way the legs were structured, change the way that the front was structured based off of the reference image. I tried to make the snout even more sleek, but that's literally as far as it would go. So I did what I could. Ultimately, it sort of just looks like a floofy version of Isis, or like if Isis and another dog combined with each other, then it would be more like this dog. It's close, but not perfect. And that's kind of what I was going for with all of these, because again, create a pet is not my thing. I wish it was. I wish I was better at it. It would be so fun to make an exact replica of Mel. But alas, I know what my strengths are, and create a pet is not one of them. I did make Isis independent and a hunter and active, which I think all suited her. I again was trying to play around with fur and find some good options, but I worked with what I had. So there she is, folks. There she is. I did a little photo shoot with all of the animals here as well, so you can see kind of the final iterations and how they turned out. I hope you enjoyed this fun little trip into Create a Pet with me, Create a Sim with me, and let me know what you think about the pets and how they turned out. Which one of these pets from the games is your favorite? Which one would you love to have as a pet? Are you a cat person? Are you a dog person? Would you take all of these pets into your home? Let a wizard kitten know in the comment section down below. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. This was just kind of a fun little experiment, and ultimately I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. But thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I appreciate you all so much. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.